Okay, you all got a paper. I know. Thank you, Norma, for the apple pie. It was very good. Everybody's not here is missing out. There's kind of a lot to go through this chapter, so I wasn't going to do really like songs. So we're on Genesis 18. You have your paper. I'm going to read through it like I normally do, and then we will discuss it. First, Nick, can you open us in prayer, please? Then the Lord appeared to him by the terebinth trees of Mamre, as he was sitting in the tent door in the heat of the day. So he lifted his eyes and looked, and behold, 3 men were standing by him. And when he saw them, he ran from the tent door to meet them, and bowed himself to the ground, and said, My Lord, if I have now found favor in your sight, do not pass on by your servant. Please let a little water be brought, and wash your feet, and rest yourselves under the tree. And I will bring a morsel of bread, that you may refresh your hearts. After that you may pass by, and as much as you have come to your servant. They said, Do as you have said. So Abraham hurried into the tent to Sarah and said, Quickly make ready 3 measures of fine meal, knead it, and make cakes. And Abraham ran to the herd, took a tender and good calf, gave it to a young man, he hastened to prepare it. So he took butter and milk and the calf which he had prepared, and set it before them, and he stood by them under the tree as they ate. Then they said to him, Where is Sarah your wife? So he said, Here, in the tent. And he said, I will certainly return to you according to the time of life, and behold, Sarah your wife shall have a son. Sarah was listening in the tent door which was behind him. Now Abraham and Sarah were old, well advanced in age, and Sarah had passed the age of childbearing. Therefore Sarah laughed within herself, saying, After I have grown old, shall I have pleasure, my Lord being old also? And the Lord said to Abraham, Why did Sarah laugh, saying, Shall I surely bear a child, since I am old? Is anything too hard for the Lord? At the appointed time I will return to you according to the time of life, and Sarah shall have a son. But Sarah denied it, saying, I did not laugh, for she was afraid. And he said, No, but you did laugh. Then the men rose from there and looked toward Sodom, and Abraham went with them to send them on the way. And the Lord said, Shall I hide from Abraham what I am doing? Since Abraham shall surely become a great and mighty nation, and all the nations of the earth shall be blessed in him. For I have known him, in order that he may command his children and his household after him, that they keep the way of the Lord, to do righteousness and justice, that the Lord may bring to Abraham what he has spoken to him. And the Lord said, Because the outcry against Sodom and Gomorrah is great, and because their sin is very grave, I will go down now and see whether they have done altogether according to the outcry against it that has come to me, and if not, I will know. Then the men turned away from there and went toward Sodom, but Abraham stood still before the Lord. And Abraham came near and said, Would you also destroy the righteous with the wicked? Suppose there were 50 righteous within the city. Would you also destroy the place and not spare it for the 50 righteous that were in it? Far be it from you to do such a thing as this, to slay the righteous with the wicked, so that the righteous should be as the wicked. Far be it from you. Shall not the judge of all the earth do right? So the Lord said, If I find in Sodom 50 righteous within the city, then I will spare all the place for their sakes. Then Abraham answered and said, Indeed now, I who am but dust and ashes have taken upon myself to speak to the Lord. Suppose there were 5 less than the 50 righteous. Would you destroy all the city for lack of 5? So he said, If I find there 45, I will not destroy it. And he spoke to him again and said, Suppose there should be 40 found there. So he said, I will not do it for the sake of 40. Then he said, Let not the Lord be angry, and I will speak. Suppose 30 should be found there. So he said, I will not do it if I find 30 there. And he said, Indeed now I have taken upon myself to speak to the Lord. Suppose 20 should be found there. So he said, I will not destroy it for the sake of 20. Then he said, Let not the Lord be angry, and I will speak but once more. Suppose 10 should be found there. And he said, I will not destroy it for the sake of 10. So the Lord went his way as soon as he had finished speaking with Abraham, and Abraham returned to his place. Patience, yes. Also, like, if you were in his place, would you debate the Lord? No. But that doesn't change the fact that Abraham asked. It didn't change the outcome. Two, three. Lot, his wife, and well, his wife turned back, but she was part of it originally, I thought. Okay. Out of a city of probably thousands. And that was just one of the 2 that got destroyed. It kind of is a reflection of the flood. The flood. Like, for the righteous, instead of destroying them in the city, he gave them a way out. But everybody else, you were done for. So the first question, is just, is there anything the Lord does not know? And we know the answer to that, but it's a very big deal through this entire chapter. So I just put it up there just as a reminder as we go through this that, in all these things that are taking place with Sarah and with Abraham here, like, you're not hiding anything from God. He's aware of everything that's going to be happening. So in reality, more of the first question is, what did Abraham prepare for the 3 men who came to meet him? Well, he knows also who it is, though. I would say it's for a God fearing person in this time and age in reference to God, or like Melchizedek or something like that, where he has that the authority or the power from God, then yes. But for any normal person, I would say probably not. Because Abraham's on par with, he's basically a king at this point without having kings. I mean, he has so many people and people underneath him. He's a moving city. Yeah, yeah. Uh, what? Ran to the herd, took a tender and good calf. Grandpa, what are baby sheep called? So, so a cow? So then it's a. So he got water, washed their feet. It's interesting though what he says that he's going to bring them for food, and then what he actually brought them. He says, "I will bring a morsel of bread, that you may refresh your hearts, not your stomachs or your taste buds." Makes sense. I mean, it's obviously a very high staple of their food. Yeah, so Sarah makes the cakes. They go get the calf, and then, at least in my Bible, in verse 8, it says he took butter and milk and the calf which he had prepared and set it before them, as he stood by them under the tree as they ate. So he wasn't eating with them either. Well, it can be made into butter. What was the promise given to Abraham and Sarah? I wonder if Abraham knew that she could hear or was listening in. I wonder if Abraham knew that Sarah could hear their conversation or was listening in or whatever. Yeah, you and your never mind. Your ear to drama. In verse 11 where it says the age of childbearing, I have a marker and it says literally the manner of woman had ceased to be with Sarah. The manner of women had ceased to be with Sarah when it said it's past the age of childbearing. You gonna have a kid up till you're 90? No, I think she was like 98 because he was like 100. It'd be different for every woman though. Yeah. Yeah. Her cycles were no longer working, and he was going to reestablish them, basically. But this is where it comes down to if it wasn't done this way, in some way, shape, or form, a human would be able to take credit. And it's impossible for a human to take credit in this scenario. So God gets the glory. And that's what happens a lot of these times. You get put in these possible situations because it's the only way that our ego won't talk us out of giving God the credit. I guess that means he can't ride by that driveway anymore. Well, it's. Are you talking about verse 14? The I would. Yeah. I thought about that too. So the only thing I'm going to say off of that is just in verse 22, two of the men leave and go on down. That's going to be the thing. They don't stay together. They do split up. Yeah. Well, yeah, that's what mine says. All right, so next question is, where did they go after leaving Abraham's tent? Well, at least they started going that way, all of them. Abraham went with them to send them on the way. The other thing that's interesting here, like verse 17, is the Lord telling this to Abraham, or is he talking to himself? Because it's like he's questioning himself if he's going to actually tell Abraham what he's doing. See, here's the other thing, too. It's like God went to Abraham for a specific reason, which was to tell Sarah that she was going to have a child. Otherwise, he would have shown right up at Sodom. And, you know, him being God, he doesn't have to walk to Sodom. He could just be there. So it's this travel time with Abraham. Like, there's nothing that God's going to just do randomly. Like, there's a purpose for it. And so this entire dialogue that's about to happen is like pre-set up by God, which is kind of cool to think about. I thought they were like only a couple miles apart. That's what I was taught in Bible class. Granted, that was in 6th grade, but they're like taught. Modesto? Oh. What? Well, it's in Fresno. I'll just say this not to be different or controversial, but the way this was explained to me growing up in Bible class was that one of them was Jesus and the other two were angels. And that Jesus came to the earth throughout the Bible in different forms, and that God the Father never came to the earth. That any time that something was done on the earth, Jesus did it. You think about the creation of the world, Jesus did all of that. But that was how it was explained to me when I was younger. And part of that was the fact that like the angels went off to Sodom, but God still had that conversation with Abraham there. And the angels didn't have the authority to change. Where? It says in the Lord. Chapter 17? Yeah, but that's the last chapter. God's not here in person. Yeah, but that's last chapter. That's chapter 17. He's Yeah, but he's not here in person. There's no physical representation in chapter 17. How do you know when God speaks to you? How do you know when God speaks to you? All I'm saying is before chapter 18, it doesn't talk about God being represented as a person that they're talking face to face with. I mean, and you can make the argument that the first verse in chapter 17, when it says the Lord appeared to Abram and said to him, that could be that, but it doesn't actually physically state that 3 men were standing by him. Like, that doesn't happen until chapter 18. It's the first time we've ever had the Lord represented as an actual physical entity that's been stated. Yeah. Because, I mean, and throughout, yeah, the Lord said to him, or the Lord appeared, and the God. I mean, and I get all of that, but we haven't ever had this physical representation yet that has been specifically stated as such. Says the Bible. I'm not saying he never came down. I'm saying it's not documented that he came down as a person. I'm not saying that they're different. They could be the same. I'm not disputing anything here. I don't know. I'm saying this just to give that other side of things because that's how I was taught. Here to Costco. What is Abraham's argument for saving the city of Sodom? Well, and Gomorrah, I guess. Well, he has to know what it's like. He just saved the king and a bunch of other people from there when he rescued Lot a handful of chapters before. Okay, so Abraham's argument is, would you destroy the righteous with the wicked? And then he goes through all these different ones, right? How many people need to be found righteous in the city for the city to be saved? Starts at 50, goes to 45, goes to 40, goes to 30, goes to 20. He's, Lord, please be patient with me, but can we make it 10? And they still failed. 10 were not found. I, this might be bad, but the first thing that popped to my mind when I was reading this was Caleb just finished their pledge drive for like a week and a half. and you're constantly hearing like, we need 10 people, we need 7 more people, we only need 3 more people, like, and then then that's one ends, and like, hey, now we need 50 people, and then 43 people, and then 37 people. So what does this chapter teach us about life in general? Are there any circumstances where judgment is cast upon everyone regardless of blame? And would you consider that unfair? Yeah, I mean, this isn't. This wasn't meant to be like put you in place of in that, but my first thought process was someone gets in trouble at soccer practice and everyone has to run a lap. Something like that. Well, we don't want them to be fair. have that support structure. Did you read chapter 19, verse 1? Read chapter 19, verse 1. Yeah. Yeah. Well, in at least in mine, it says right off the bat. Now the two angels came to Sodom in the evening, and Lot was sitting at the gate of Sodom. When Lot saw them, he rose to meet them, and he bowed himself with his face toward the ground, and he said, "Hear now, my lords. Lords are not capitalized." Yeah. And not to get into chapter 19 right now, but it's interesting that Lot's sitting in the gate. City life was not for him. All right. And with that, we'll get with 19 in 2 weeks. Any other thoughts from 18? From chapter 18? We'll start 19 in 2 weeks. Any other thoughts from anybody on chapter 18? Potatoes are in the ground. They all look like weeds. kind of going back to what you said, there's a lot of times where I think believers are put through hard situations to show non-believers that with God all things are possible. And you have a unique way to empathize with somebody in a situation that you've also gone through yourself. Doesn't make it easy. It's definitely God's timing is kind of crazy a lot of times. They learn that in 4th grade. Because K through 3rd, they get finisher ribbons. 4th grade, Norma, can you close us in prayer, please?